This is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. Active cases of COVID-19 are spiking across Montana once again. As of this morning, Montana had more than 750 active cases. That's the highest number since the end of May. The recent jump proving that the virus is not going away and the pandemic is far from over, it seems. Nearly 1,700 Montanans have died from the virus and more than 115,000 have suffered from COVID-19 at some point. Now, this week alone, the state has seen nearly 600 new cases. That's not the only concern, as hospitalizations are also on the rise. Right now, 75 people are currently in the hospital due to the coronavirus. That's up 12 from last Friday. According to the state, just under 440,000 residents are considered fully immunized, which is less than 50% of the eligible population. Tonight, MTN's Jonathan Ambarian helps us break down those numbers.
The number of new COVID-19 cases in Montana hit its lowest point the last week of June, but now the trend is going the other direction. The state coronavirus task force has reported 591 new cases this week. More than 100 of those were in Flathead County, the center of the current spike. The county had 234 active cases Friday, more than double the counties with the next highest numbers, Yellowstone County with 107 cases and Cascade County with 100. In other large counties, the rates are still lower. Missoula has 69 active cases, Gallatin has 44, Lewis and Clark has 20, and Ravalli has 14. Mineral County has 28 active cases, the most among smaller counties. On Thursday, Governor Greg Gianforte again supported COVID vaccinations, saying in a tweet, quote, "COVID-19 vaccines save lives, and the proof is in the numbers. Unvaccinated Montanans account for 94% of new COVID-related hospitalizations." State data shows overall 48% of eligible Montanans are fully vaccinated. In Flathead County, that number is 39%, while Missoula County's is the highest at 60%. Public health leaders continue to track the number of COVID cases linked to variants. They say the Delta variant is now the most common in the state. One area of concern is that more than 20% of people found to have that strain have been hospitalized. The state identified 25 cases last week tied to variants of concern, including Delta, but they also noted that many COVID test samples don't contain enough material to determine what variant they come from. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
A wildfire burning near Jordan turned on fire crews, injuring 5 federal firefighters in the process. Firefighters were constructing a defensive fire line on the Devil's Creek Fire in Garfield County when a sudden wind shift blew the wildfire over their position. Tonight we know that 3 of the firefighters are from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service out of North Dakota. The other 2 work with the USDA Fire Service and are engine members from the Gilia National Forest. The 2 USDA Forest Service members sustained burn injuries and were transported, while the other 3 received on-site medical assistance before being transferred. The extent of the injuries are not known. That blaze, which began yesterday afternoon from a lightning strike, is burning near Pine Grove School, about 35 miles northwest of Jordan. The fire has burned roughly 1,300 acres of BLM and private land. This morning, Montana Governor Greg Gianforte sent a tweet saying he's praying for their full recovery and for the safety and protection of all of those on the front lines. The injuries follow a similar incident last Friday when Red Lodge firefighter Dan Stephenson was severely injured battling the Harris fire near Joliet. Stephenson has since undergone 2 successful surgeries, but still faces a long recovery at the University of Utah Burn Center. Well, with severe drought conditions on the rise, the city of Billings is moving to stage 1 water restrictions beginning on Monday, August 2nd. The demand for water has been extremely high since June, and these stage 1 restrictions will address equipment capacity and allow water tanks to fully fill. This mandatory lawn watering restrictions are for any property that uses the city's treated water. Now, the order prohibits lawn watering on Mondays for all residential, business, and government properties, including public parks. Properties and parks served by wells or irrigation ditches are not subject. The restrictions are in effect until September 15th, but the city will continue to monitor water use, and those dates could change. Turning now to Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh. It's been so hot lately that a hard record to break may actually be in our sights.
That's right. Every evening when we're showing the almanac, we show you what the hot temperature was for the day. Today, 96, and We're also telling you that this is the 9th day in a row that we've had temperatures reach 90 degrees or higher. Ultimately, that means we're about halfway to a record that goes back to 2003. In August, 18 days of continuous 90-degree heat. And you can see the string all the way down. In fact, in July 2003, we had 13 days in a row, an especially hot year. So we'll keep that string of days going all the way into the 7-day forecast. We'll give you more details on those hot temperatures and what else we can expect coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Ed. More details tonight surrounding a Bureau of Indian Affairs traffic stop in Lodge Grass and a police dog who refused to release its bite on a suspect. Tonight we've learned that Harris Red Star of Lodge Grass was cited with resisting arrest, obstructing, and assault on a peace officer after he was pulled over in Lodge Grass on Wednesday. Now, the video that has been widely circulated on social media shows officers putting handcuffs on Harris as a police dog bites his foot. Once the handcuffs are on, the BIA officer gives the command for the dog to release, but the dog refuses. For the next 55 seconds, you can see the officer work to pull the dog off, eventually hitting him with his hand or the dog's leash. Red Star was taken to the hospital by ambulance, and his family says he underwent 3 procedures on his foot and ankle and has since been released. Tribal court prosecutor David Sibley tells us he still does not know what happened leading up to the deployment of the dog. The Bureau of Indian Affairs has not responded with an official statement. Well, there's an epidemic plaguing our city apart from drugs or crime, and city officials are trying their best to keep up. We're talking about abandoned vehicles. As MTN's Andrea Lutz reports, this seemingly small issue is actually costing Billings residents money in both lost assets and property values.
In 2020 alone, some 1,900 abandoned vehicles were reported to the city of Billings. So when that happens, one of these orange stickers is slapped onto the window, and this sends off an entire chain reaction when the city needs to get rid of it. Here at the county junkyard.
These are the ones that were just brought in last week. Windows are broke out, it's got graffiti and no motor, totally burned up.
Each of these vehicles carries its own story.
We hear a lot of stories. They're usually vehicles that people either quit driving them because they don't run anymore, or people leave the state for several months and it broke down, they quit driving it, so it was just left on the street for several months.
Mike Skino has heard plenty of them. After a career in law enforcement with Yellowstone County as a deputy, he now works as the director of the junk vehicle program.
I mean, if you drive around the city and the county, you see junk vehicles all over the place, so I do believe it's a problem.
A problem that over the years has grown in Billings. In the span of 4 years, reports for junk cars increased over 16%, except for during the pandemic when the numbers were down. Those with Billings police say this creates a bigger problem.
It's an eyesore. It doesn't look good in our community, and honestly, if you get a stack of these vehicles in one neighborhood, it can actually make your property value go down. Sergeant Nathan West says each week the crime prevention unit gets as many as 30 calls for junk cars. Volunteers tag them, then each Wednesday tow truck drivers round them up and bring them here to the county junkyard, where Mike takes it from there.
We hold these vehicles for at least 30 days. A lot of times we hold them even longer if we think there's a chance somebody might recover them.
And if that doesn't happen, these abandoned vehicles are recycled for as much as $250 a piece. That's money that whoever owns these cars is missing out on.
Huge problem.
Maybe some people that don't belong in a neighborhood, criminals, are coming into the neighborhood and they see a vehicle with a broken window or maybe some graffiti on it. Well, I have access to this vehicle, I can break into this vehicle, maybe I can break into other vehicles, and if I can break into other vehicles, I can break into homes.
But whatever the reason for leaving a vehicle and never coming back for
I
it,
think when they're parked in the streets, people break into them too. I know they do.
Mike says the issue of junk cars scattered around our city is a problem.
You don't want to have to look at that out in the street in front of your house, you know.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Well, those with the Crime Prevention Center say they want people to report junk cars, even if it takes volunteers a few weeks to get them tagged. The program to remove junk vehicles essentially pays for itself, with recycling proceeds going back into a state fund that pays to remove them. Every Montanan also pays a junk vehicle tax when they go to register their automobile. The Boys and Girls Clubs of Yellowstone County have provided a place for thousands of children after school since 1971. And tonight, the club's supporters and even some alumni celebrated. Free Spirit Soul played at the Be Great Ball for the 50th anniversary. That event also raised funds with silent and live auctions. Jake Cohn served as the MC, and two of the original members played in the band and came back for the big party.
It was important then. I can only imagine how important it is to kids this day and age and stuff like that. A place to go, a place to hang, a place to meet with your other friends and stuff like that. So I can imagine it's a really big deal for kids nowadays. My cousin Robin Martinez, and we used to go hang out at the club together as well. So Robin was also an original club member.
All you have to do is go into the building after school when the kids are there and see what's going on. If that doesn't touch your heartstrings, I don't know what could.
Our original director, Gordon's here tonight. Gordon and his team created a wonderful experience for the kids. And that's something we really strive to continue and build upon and make sure that every time the kid walks through our doors, we provide the type of experience they need to find success.
Well, in 1971, it was the Boys Club and started allowing girls in the late 1980s. It's one of Billings' longest running cultural events. The Mexican Fiesta and car show is set to return tomorrow, bringing authentic Hispanic food, song and dance to the Magic City. SQ2's Austin Amstoy tells us the story behind the party holds special meaning for its longtime planner.
The annual Billings Mexican Fiesta, car show, and dance has drawn thousands to South Park each summer for 66 years. But to Fiesta chair Bill Contreras, the event is about more than just good food, good music, and good times. It's a celebration of family and a chance to honor deep cultural traditions, both past and present.
Another fundraising event for the Fiesta last year, since we didn't.
70-year-old Bill Contreras has been in the fundraising and Fiesta business for as long as he can remember.
Well, if things go wrong, I'm the one they pick on. That's the main part, But,
the event, now in its 67th year, brings together the Billings community for a day of dancing, singing, traditional Hispanic food, and a vintage car show. Bill has led the planning of the Fiesta for nearly 2 decades.
Okay, this picture shows what we called the hall of the building.
But long before his time as chair, Bill remembers the Fiesta's early days. His first-generation Mexican-American parents and other members of the predominantly Hispanic Our Lady Guadalupe Catholic Parish held the first Billings Fiesta in the 1950s as a fundraiser for a new church building.
They brought the culture of Fiesta, which is a great time of celebration, and of course they were celebrating the fact that now we have a parish of our own.
The fundraiser was a smash hit, and the parishioners built their church. And Bill was there, holding that little cowboy hat. Even at just 5 or 6 years old, Bill had a role in the Fiesta.
Me and other kids my age would take the nails and straighten them out for them to reuse to put together the booths.
Our Lady Guadalupe later merged with several other parishes to form Mary Queen of Peace, which still sponsors the Fiesta. Bill says the premier event is the traditional Hispanic meal that serves as the Fiesta's main source of revenue. But to Bill, the scent of that meal means much more.
Those tortillas and those beans and whatever else they were cooking really, brought you to, that fullness of life, I guess you could call it, looking back on it that way. This was life for us that way.
And just like all good stories, this one comes full circle. Mary Queen of Peace is now fundraising for a new church building at the gateway to the south side. Just like the founders of the original Fiesta, Bill hopes the celebration will help to bring worshipers under one roof. But he's not going it alone. In fact, the Fiesta is something of a family affair. Along with help from his 10 siblings through the years, Bill's nephew, Dallas Contreras, is the event's current entertainment director. Dallas says the Fiesta wouldn't be where it is today without Bill's ability to listen and learn.
There's a lot of his leadership capabilities that I've known that I've actually kind of implemented into my personal life and use that as kind of an inspiration to develop myself.
Bill says he knows the day will come for him to retire from planning the Fiesta. He says he hopes someone will carry the torch for the next generation to continue celebrating Hispanic culture.
I've been told on occasion, this is my baby. Well, I guess I never saw it that way, but I just saw it as something I needed to do. But I hope this baby is better than what I started with someday down the road.
A family legacy poised to live on as Billings gears up for another day of celebration. Reporting in Billings, I'm Austin Amistoy for MTN News.
The 67th Mexican Fiesta kicks off at 10 a.m. at South Park with free admission to both the Fiesta and the car show. The dance begins at 8 o'clock at the Billings Convention Center and ends at midnight. Tickets to the dance are $15 per person or $150 for a table of 8. Still to come on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2 as students get ready to head back to school. Bus companies are still looking for drivers. We'll dive into the nationwide shortage, see how it's affecting Billings coming up next. Then a little later in sports, time to rev up the engines and climb that hill. Love the thrills and spills from the Great American Hill Climb coming up in just a bit.